Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Today, the Serie A is over, Juventus champion for the 38th time, 9th time consecutively, and it's time to do the Serie A 90-20 Juventus players rating. So, we will start, I explain a bit the concept, I will go through all the players of Juventus from 90-20. We will divide them on scores, 3 colors, you have the red color from 0 to 5.5. Then you have the orange color from 6, 6.5, and from 7 on you have the green color. So I decided the 3 colors to give to the players. I will also rate them with scores. After every player, I will give a score and explain in a sentence or two maximum what I thought about them from this season. We are speaking about Serie A, guys, so it means that Champions League is not taken into consideration because we will have to play that from next Friday versus Lyon. Not only the players, I will also rate the coach, Maurizio Sarri, and Juventus as a team. And finally, I will give the awards of the 90-20 season to all of them. Ready? We start! We start with the goalkeepers. We have 3. We have Szczesny, Buffon, and Pinsoglio. Szczesny, I give him, and I start with a good vote, a 7. Why? Because Szczesny, if you analyze the 38 games of Serie A, he was quite consistent. He did really beautiful games. He had a bit of a drop after the lockdown, but he was able to raise again, doing really spectacular saves at a certain moment. So for his season, he was at a certain moment even the best of Juventus, nominated by all the players. So for me, a solid 7 for Szczesny. We go to Pinsoglio. Pinsoglio not applicable. He played a few minutes yesterday versus Roma. I wished to see him playing all the game yesterday because usually he play at least 45 minutes. That was not the case. Not applicable. Plus. Why a plus? Because we know, and that's not a myth, that's not a legend, it's true, there are facts that he's really important in the locker room. When you see him on the bench, celebrating goals, going to the players, motivating them, I think also as a third keeper, he fulfilled absolutely his role. So not applicable plus. Then we go to Buffon. Buffon 6.5. He did a really beautiful season as a second keeper. Guys, please, you have to judge Buffon as a second keeper. He's not the first keeper anymore. So he had a few flops during the season, we know that, but then he did also some extraordinary games. So as a second keeper, I still believe Buffon is doing the job. Can you imagine how many teams do want Buffon as a first keeper? We have the luxury to have him as a first keeper. So 6.5 for Buffon. And that being said, the goalkeepers are done. We go to the fullbacks. Fullbacks, we knew and we know that it was a problem during the 90-20 season. Why? Because Alexandro was alone on the left, even if Decisive was able to play there sometimes when he was available. And also on the right, we knew that we had some problems. So we start actually with fullbacks that has some problems, so the scores there will not be really high. I start with Decisive. Decisive 4.5 for me. That's, I know I'm quite harsh because I have nothing with the problem with Decisive as a player. I have nothing personal with him. For me, he's a good guy to have in the 25 players. I would love to keep him, I would have loved to keep him, I will say, because it's a guy that you can put him on the left, you can put him on the right. When he's there, he's doing the job without being a phenomenal and rarely doing crazy mistakes. 4.5, why, you should say? It's because it's a guy that even if he can fit in the 25, we cannot count on him. His season, again, a disaster in terms of injuries. We cannot count on him when we need him, and that's a problem. If you have a player like Decisive being in the 25, it means that when your starting 11 players are out due to suspensions or due to injury, you need to have him, and that's a problem with Decisive. When you need him, you don't have him. So 4.5 for him. Danilo, I give him a 5. He started amazingly well versus Napoli, if I'm not wrong, the second game of the Serie A, where he entered and after a few seconds he scored a goal. So amazing start for him. That was for me the highlight of Danilo. He scored another goal in the end of the season, a really beautiful one, but that was it. I'm not expecting a lot of goals from him, absolutely not, but at least some beautiful crosses, and Danilo was not able to do it. Offensive support, not really good. Defensive, he made some blunders. For me, it's sure that it's not adapted to Serie A. He has nothing to see with Juventus. 5 for Danilo for me. And then we go to Quadrado, 6.5. It's not a 7. Some people hate him. Some people love him. I'm not, I was never actually a big fan of Quadrado in the past years, because in the past year when he was playing actually as an offensive player, we knew that from the moment that he was actually to take a decision, he was most of the time wrong. Playing well, giving pressure, being fast, but also in dribble, really beautiful skills, but when he had to take a decision, he was wrong. This year for me, he was one of the most consistent players. Never a phenomenal, never a top player, but he was able to play offensively and also as a fullback. Can you imagine that from all the fullbacks we had, Quadrado was probably the best one, and a player that normally it's not even his role at Juventus. So 6.5 for me. You could use him in the front, in the back, even sometime in the midfield if you look the 38 games of Serie A. So Quadrado for me, 6.5, absolutely. The best of the fullbacks. We go to Alexandro, a 6, less than Quadrado. Why? Because you never know what you have to expect from Alexandro. He came to Juventus as a real player that could give us some really beautiful offensive support. With Allegri, he was really focusing in the defensive style. Today, he's a hybrid between defense and offensive player without giving really something really amazing. Neither in the back, neither in the front. Sometimes he's doing incredible, beautiful games. A lot of time he's also doing bad games, and that's the problem with me. When you are a starter like Alexandro, we never know what to expect from him. So 6 for Alexandro. We go to the central defenders, and here we have 5 different players, starting with Chiellini. Same as Pinsoglio, I gave him a not applicable plus. Why the plus? Because I really loved the way that Chiellini was always with the team, even injured. He did all the away games. He was with the team, he was supporting them. You already saw that he will be one of the future managers of Juventus. So this is something I really appreciated. He never left his old lady alone. Beautiful. And yesterday when he had to lift the trophy, normally it's the captain, Chiellini is captain. What did he do? He shared the lifting of the trophy moment together with Bonucci, who was actually captain on the field. So really beautiful gesture from Chiellini, a real true capitano. We go immediately then Bonucci. I gave him a 6. He was really a disaster after lockdown, especially when he had to play with someone that was not Matthijs de Ligt. 6 for him because it was, again, I said it, a disaster. But if you really analyze also the pre-lockdown, he was really solid with de Ligt. How many times did I had to tweet that both of them were really a wall, a defensive wall? So not easy for Bonucci after lockdown. He was quite solid before, and that's what when I am telling you guys, I'm not analyzing only the post-lockdown. I'm trying to analyze the 360 degrees, the 38 games of Serie A. In a full season, a 6, not a 6.5, not a 7, but a 6 for Bonucci. Why am I not giving a 6.5 is also because he was the captain, and in a lot of times when Juventus really needed a captain on the field, Bonucci couldn't fulfill that role. Matthijs de Ligt, a 8 for the young defender, the blonde defender. Normally, don't forget guys, he came from Eredivisie. Eredivisie is a championship that is quite low in level, playing with Ajax, the best team there. He was captain at 19 years old. He came to Juventus choosing Juve over Barcelona, PSG, and so on and so on. For me, the guy was absolutely a beast, not only with his physical skills but also and especially mentally. The guy normally had to have a progression, a few months to train to play once with Chiellini, once with Bonucci, adapting to Serie A that is totally different as Eredivisie, for example. But due to injury of Chiellini after one game, he was put immediately with the big guys versus Napoli. Napoli, that we don't forget, was second last year, if I'm not wrong. So big game for him. He had a really difficult start, we have to say it. Even if I was already telling and saying that the guy had so much potential, I was never doubting in him. The blunders that he did in the game versus Napoli, the first game, was, yes, evident, absolutely, but after that game, the only mistake that he was doing was touching the ball with his hand. Really strange new rule in Serie A. I hope they will skip that rule from next year, because we were penalized a lot with that. Why am I giving the guy an 8? Because also mentally, he was showing that at 20 years old, when you receive criticizes from all the world, it's quite difficult to keep cool, keep your head cool, and showing that you are there game after game after game. And then a bit more, even a bit more score for him. Why? Because he was playing the last game of the season with a really difficult problem with his shoulder. A lot of players would already have give up or asking for surgery. He's not doing it. So well done for Matthijs de Ligt with a number 8. Demiral, 6.5. I know that a lot of people love him. I love him too. I will probably buy his shirt if he remains at Juve. Really solid. But the guy played 8 games in Serie A. I cannot give more than a 6.5 for a player that played 8 games, while one a disaster. The first one is September. He played really bad. Then he came in December playing a lot of really great game. Even yesterday versus Roma, you see that at a certain moment the guy is absolutely not scared, going on the man, really aggressivity, showing passion. So 6.5 is a great score for a defender, a young defender that played only 8 games. So 6.5, and I'm sure next year we will go over the 7 for Merih Demiral. We finished the defenders with Rugani. Rugani, I gave him a 4. Why? Because also him played not a lot of games. He started playing after the lockdown consistently. Why? Because of some injury and suspensions. And at 25 years old, that was the moment when he had to show that he was able to take control over that Juve, over that defensive line. And he didn't. The opposite way, it was not even normal or regular, but a lot of the goals we conceded when he was playing was also due to him. A disaster post-lockdown for Rugani. I cannot even judge the pre-lockdown because he never played, except of 1 or 2 times. So disaster Rugani, 3.5 million a year. Again, it's not a Juventus caliber. He had the chance to show it, he didn't. Midfielders, and we start with Miralem Pjanic, the number 5, where I gave him a 5.5. I wanted to give less, but I also take into consideration the first part of the season until he played with his national team Bosnia, and he had a slight injury. He never came back, not due to the slight injury, but after that moment we never saw the real Pjanic anymore. In the beginning of the season, if I'm not wrong, he even scored 3 goals. We were thinking that Maurizio Sarri found the magic solution for Pjanic, touching 150 balls a season. Unfortunately, after that moment, he was never there. He was slow. He was never thinking offensively. He stayed really with the mentality of Allegri, of controlling the game, passing in the left, on the right, and back. Never offensive mentality after that moment. A real pity for Pjanic, because it's a player I always loved. I even bought a shirt of him. I had so many hopes, and I want to thank him for 4 seasons at Juve, 3 great seasons, this one that was really difficult. 5.5 for Miralem Pjanic. Bentancur, no, I gave him a 7. Why? Because Bentancur was one of the revelations of the season. We always believed in him. We love him. He was a young guy waiting his moment on the bench, and the moment was today. He played on 2 different roles, as a a mezzala, right midfielder. He also played as a regista playmaker in really important games like the one versus Inter, for example. That was a really crucial one. Then he played versus Lazio also on that game. So we saw that Maurizio Sarri, when it was really important, he gave him his trust. Trust that I also give him. I have a lot of hopes for the guy. He did an amazing growth. So what is missing from Bentancur to actually increase a bit that 7 score is scoring. He need to take more often his chance. He need to score because we need it if he wants to continue to play as a mezzala, as a right midfielder. Khedira, another 4 disaster season. I renamed the J Medical as a K Medical. I believe it's his last season with Juve. It's really difficult. He played only 18 games with Juve. Not enough. It's not the first year because that can happen to everyone, but a disaster. It's really strange because the coaches, they give only really beautiful compliments for a player like Khedira, saying that he's a smart guy on and off the field, but when the moment is there, he disappeared. Again, season over really fast. 4 for him. When he was playing, he was not even offering intensity, really slow, and he can be as smart as you want. If you don't put intensity, it's a real problem. Aaron Ramsey, 5.5 for him. A big flop, especially after lockdown. We never saw him again. He finished the pre-lockdown with Inter with a really amazing game, probably his most beautiful game, scoring 1 goal and doing an assist. After that, it disappeared completely. He was the moment to prove that he was a real Juve player, that he deserved it. He never showed it, unfortunately. It's a pity. It's really a pity. We knew that he came from an injury after Arsenal. He had his time to come back, but never. Too injury prone, 5.5 for me, a biggest flop. And we have 2 more players in the midfield. Matuidi, 5.5 also for him. It's a player that I like. I don't hate Matuidi like a lot of people, but this is indisputably his worst season at Juventus. The guy is really in difficulty when he has to play the ball with his feet, left or right, whatever. It's really difficult for him to fit in this style of play. And why am I giving him also a 5.5 is sometimes you need, or you know this from Matuidi, but what you have from Matuidi is the pressing, his defensive skills, never giving up. This season I saw him sometimes walking on the field. I saw that also his pressure was not as good and efficient as in the past. So 5.5 for Matuidi. And Rabiot, I gave him a 6. It would have been a lot worse pre-lockdown, but after lockdown, the guy was probably one of the top 3 players of Juve. Intensity, run, dynamic, being there, a beautiful goal versus Milan where we all dreamed of, like, wow, what a goal. Rabiot, a 6 for him. Not enough to have more because we have to analyze again the 38 games of the season. He was not good at all. Before, even during the lockdown, we were even thinking, would he ever come back? Because he liked the Nice life. He doesn't come back. He was one of the latest one to come back to Juve. But after that, the guy did it well. I hope he can stay and have another chance. But for 7 million salary plus 2 of bonus, for me, it's not enough. So he will have to prove again and even more if he stays at Juve. We go now to the strikers. We start with Douglas Costa, 6 for him. A lot of potential for him, but they all also there. 6 million a year for a player that can play maximum 30 minutes a game. That's too much. Too much of injuries also for a player where actually can really make the difference. Why do I give him a 6? Because we never saw him on his favorite and best position on the left, because we have Ronaldo there, so he has to adapt on the right during really beautiful games. The only player maybe that is able to do some crosses. So for me, a 6. And I think, unfortunately, it will be the last season from Douglas Costa. correct choice, because we cannot pay that much a player that we are not able to see consistently on the field. When he's playing, I always pray for two things. One thing is that he's always giving us those magic skills and dribbles to make the difference, and then the other one is always, I hope he will not get injured. So having that scare, if I have that scare, I'm sure that he's also fearing it when he's starting to playing. So mentally it can be a problem for Douglas Costa. Bernardeschi, five for him. Why a 5 and not less? Because I know it's one of the players that we have to give less score to, but the guy, for the all first part of the season, he was playing as a trequartista, and this as a number 10, and this is not a role made for him. Sarri persevered to put him there even if the results were not there. A lot of us were saying, okay, let him playing at the right in his natural position, and that's why he don't score high for me. It's when he had that opportunity, especially after lockdown, the guy was absolutely not performing even on the right. So we have a problem with Bernardeschi. It's not a Juve player. 5 for him. What is a really bad score, by the way. And 3 remaining players. We start with Dybala, La Joya. La Joya 7.5. I wanted to give him also a 8 like De Ligt, but a 7.5. Why? Because the first part of the season was also for him a bit difficult to adapt. He had this problem mentally also with Juventus, because Juventus wanted to sell him, if you remember. But he came back so strong. He scored a lot of goals. He was decisive. At a certain moment, I was also knowing that without Dybala, it would have been really difficult to win a game or to score some goals. So he did an amazing season. I'm so happy that he did everything to stay at Juve. We will speak about MVP and so on later. Will it be De Ligt? Will it be Dybala? Stay tuned. That will arrive in a few minutes. But yes, 7.5, really well done for Dybala, one of the best players of, if not the best player of the season. Higuain, Pipita Higuain, 5.5. He did everything to stay at Juve, showing passion, showing intensity and everything when the Mercato was still open, because he wanted to stay, he didn't want to move. Unfortunately, that lasted only 5 games. He scored an amazing beauty versus Napoli. 8 goals in the season for number 9. I know that Cristiano Ronaldo is taking all the goals. I know that Dybala had a really beautiful season in terms of goals and productivity, that all those players were playing more than Higuain, but Higuain was not playing well. For me, it's not at the level of Juventus anymore. Remember, that guy has a record of 36 goals with Napoli the season before joining Juve. He did amazingly well when playing with Juve. I will not deny that, because it's Pipita is in my heart. We love him because we have good memory with him. But speaking about 1920, for me it was the next player. So 5.5. And then we finish with Cristiano Ronaldo, and also him I give him a 7.5. Why? Don't forget it. 7.5, because 31 goals, amazing goals. I don't care if it's, some are penalties or not. Really decisive player, an added value for Juventus, one of the more decisive guys. He did also a lot of assists. He was there playing every game. He wanted to play every game. Really well done, amazing goals. You see that he makes the difference. And if we need to tell or to name one difference maker, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. But why don't I give him an 8 or a 9 or whatever? It's because, don't forget, we had some problems with him underperforming in November versus Lokomotiv, versus Milan. He was upset he was not even called up versus Atalanta. November was a really difficult month for Cristiano Ronaldo. So 7.5 for him, even if, again, he did an amazing, spectacular season with 31 goals, a lot more than last season. We finish with Juventus, with Sarri, and then with the awards, and I will not be too long on it. Juventus 6. Why? Because, yes, we won the Serie A as we had to, only 1 point above Inter, we know the last two games we already won, so it means that when we won mathematically, we had a +7 versus Inter. But the post-lockdown was a disaster. We have to admit it. We feared at a certain moment to not even win the Scudetto. 83 points, less than all the 9 season, where the smallest score we had was 84 in 2011-2012. We even reached the max 102. Juventus conceded 43 goals with 7 defeats, 83 points on total. Guys, if we speak about fino alla fine, after the lockdown, we didn't really convinced in terms of fino alla fine until the end. So a 6 because at the end we are champion, and that's right. Sarri, for me, a 6. I made a video about it, 2 videos. One of the problems of Sarri, I already explained it. People management. We know that a lot of players are not okay with Sarri. We know that other ones like him, but people management is a problem. Substitutions sometimes were a problem after lockdown. He also admitted press conferences is a drama. You are scared about what he will say. So 6 for Sarri, but at the end he was winning the Champions League. I hope it's a revelation lapsus, because I said Champions League. So we will play the Champions League, but Serie A, he won it. 6 for Sarri at the first season. That was all but easy, because it was really a difficult one. So 6 for him. And then we go to the awards, and we finish with the awards for that special video, a long video. I tried to talk really fast so that you are not annoyed. But speaking about the awards, we start with the rookie award. That means the young players award, the player that are under a certain age. For me, it's De Ligt. I will not repeat all the compliments I did because we already spoke about it, but De Ligt Rookie Award. Newcomer Award. So newcomer is the award for the guy that arrived from last season Mercato, who is new in the team, first season, and I gave it also here to Matthijs De Ligt, because he did extraordinarily well. Then we have the best improving or the most improving award. That means that it was a player that was already there last year and this year improved incredibly a lot. I gave it to Rodrigo Bentancur. The difference from last year, where he was already playing well but not enough, versus this year, absolutely for Bentancur. Then we have 2 other ones. We have Flop Awards. That means a player that you had a lot of expectations from, but that didn't show them. It is for me Aaron Ramsey. I was about also to buy his shirt. I'm happy I didn't, because he never showed something. So flop for him. And then we have the worst player awards. I was hesitating between Khedira, Bernardeschi, and Rugani. At the end, I gave it to Rugani. Why? I know he didn't play a lot of games, but when he had to play, when players or supporters had to actually give him the trust and say, okay, we have a 5th guy that deserved 3.5 million, he was not there. He didn't even made it worse. So for me, Rugani, worst player. And we finish with the MVP. As you know, I gave 3 really big scores. I gave them to Matthijs De Ligt with the 8, 7.5 for Dybala, and 7.5 for Ronaldo. Normally, I should give the MVP awards to Matthijs De Ligt, because he had the most scores, but I will not. I will give it to Paulo Dybala. Why? Because the guy, it was not an easy season for him. He played in diverse roles. He found his space. He made a beautiful improvement versus last season. He had to go away from Juve at a certain moment in the Mercato. He stayed. He showed it. Really decisive in a lot of games, never giving up. Is the present, the future of Juve, the number 10. The guy deserves it absolutely. Why? Because also me, at a certain moment when I was always looking at the lineups, I was praying that we saw Dybala. And when you have that feeling of praying that you have a player on the field, it showed that it's really an important one. So congratulations, Dybala, my MVP, and not only mine, but my MVP of 2019-2020. Guys, the ratings video is over. A long video, I know. I hope you watch until the end. If not, Maybe you will see it in different parts, let's see. But if you watched it, please comment, let me know what are your ratings about 1920. Please consider to analyze the 38 of the Serie A, not only the post-lockdown. Let me know if you agree with me or not, guys. This is only a personal opinion. They are my votes, not the votes of whatever. I know that some will be okay with me, other not. Please don't be really upset, guys. We are playing, we are not professional, guys. We are giving the votes that the players gave us through what we watch, what we feel in our heart. Guys, thank you for watching. Please consider to subscribe to the channel, to put some likes, and again, put it in the comment. Thank you. Forza Juve.